Happy New Year and welcome to episode 385 of an Unearthly podcast, streaming live on the 6th of January, 2021. Hey, I got it right first try this year. Today we're
Oh,
talking
you'll fuck it up sometime in the next month or two.
I will. Today we're talking about School Reunion, written by Toby Witt. Wait, how'd those notes get mixed up? Revolution of the Daleks, written by Chris Chibnall and starring Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor, Bradley Walsh as Graham O'Brien, Tosin Cole as Ryan Sinclair, Mandip Gill as Yasmin Khan, and John Barrowman as Captain Jack Harkness. I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and I was going to say something clever, but damn, it's been a day. With me are Randy Ronson McCulloch.
I'm still finishing bits and pieces because I was so busy watching the news today.
Mad Matt Winchell,
I need to figure out what I'm streaming tomorrow afternoon.
and Thomas Fireheart.
God, Jimmo has a bad habit of stumbling into relevancy, doesn't he?
And he wrote that before 2020 and filmed it before 2020. So,
Or filmed at least most of it, I'm sure, before
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah,
but the BLM protests were relatively calm and not yet international when he wrote the episode.
Yes,
yeah,
at the time.
I watched this like the day after it came out, and I was fine with it. And then I rewatched it today, and it was just like,
It feels like he wrote it this summer.
Yeah.
How
Like he
is the
wrote
new
it
year
today.
treating everybody other than fascists storming the Capitol?
Other than you mean
I
just
know that's-
average
I know
people
that's
going
the big
crazy
news
and doing stupid
today,
things.
But other than today, how have the 5 days of 2021 been?
not good.
Uh,
I ate some bad Christmas ham.
oof.
Yeah.
I ate some bad Christmas ham on Monday. Spent yesterday trying to recover from food poisoning.
That's
Ouch.
when you double check that turkey.
Still have a bit of a tender stomach today, which I did the stupid thing of ate the couple of the cookies that Aaron brought home. There's a bakery that opened up about 3 blocks down the road, and they have these things called ooey gooey cookies.
Oh.
And she bought I think she bought like 24 of them. They're huge. They're huge. I mean,
Yeah, I can think
you know-
of huge. I've had some huge cookies in my lifetime. Go on.
they're huge and they're thick. I thought I made big cookies. I got nothing on these things. They're like small cakes.
I was gonna say, are we talking like pizza-sized cookies or?
Not quite pizza, but
But at least a good
Like-
6 to 10 inches.
like cinnamon roll sized.
Look, now that I say that, if I don't know if they still do it, but I know Domino's used to do a pizza cookie. Like it was the size of a pizza, but it was a cookie.
I looked at the price of these cookies, not knowing their size at the time. I'm like, wow, these are really expensive. So I'm
Thud.
like, Aaron's like, I'm heating up a cookie. Do you want one? Yeah, sure. I'll take a couple. I get them, and I'm just like, holy fuck.
She's like, a couple, really? Okay.
And she comes in before she drops off the cookies with a glass of milk, and she's like, you're gonna need this.
Bitch, you're gonna need this. You're gonna be thirsty.
Oh yeah, I mean they were good. They were good. I mean this thing was loaded with chocolate chips.
Here's your blood sugar for the next 2 days.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And now you need to fast for the rest of the week.
Pretty much.
And that's only half the cookie.
My Christmas wasn't bad. Aaron bought me a crisper tray for the oven.
Mm.
We tested it. We liked it. We bought another one
There you go.
because it's like, yeah, we can make the chicken strips or the chicken patties in one of them, but now I want another one for the fries. And yes, that is the perfect way to make frozen fries in the oven. Is this crisper tray? So
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
For Christmas, one of the things I got was a Yoda mug, and it came with hot chocolate, so I made that hot chocolate this last week.
Yoda or Baby Yoda?
Regular Yoda.
Okay. thought I'd
It's
ask.
regular. It's regular
Okay,
Yoda.
Yeah,
The eyes are a
I
little
had
too
to
small.
ask because that's an important question this time.
That's the one I got either
Not
last year
Grogu.
or the year before, I think.
Not Grogu.
Spoiler! Spoiler!
We know its name.
Hey, I thought
Oh,
there was somebody.
is that a
somebody
plot point?
I
Like, I
thought
know it's
somebody
its
on here
name,
hadn't
but
seen The Mandalorian, so
I have not yet, but I actually do
It's
have
as far
access
as
to
I'm aware,
Disney
it's not a
Plus now. The
major thing. It's
problem is
just that
that
it's no longer known as the child anymore.
I'm trying to finish the final season of Sabrina, and then I can start The Mandalorian because the final season of Sabrina dropped on Friday.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide when I want to try to attempt that Disney Plus temporary free account. I'm going to wait until I have time to actually focus on Mandalorian. I have other things I want to get done first.
Meanwhile, I've watched about 5 seasons of Inuyasha since classes ended in mid-December. So by the time classes start up, I expect to be caught up with the franchise.
yeah. I haven't watched these since the original fan. You're watching them in English, something I've never actually experienced.
And so part of me, so I'm watching it in English so that I can watch like without needing 100% attention because I am not good at that and I cannot get through a lot of episodes a day that way. But every so often I was like, I really wish I was watching this subbed or I had the anime in Japanese here because I really like am curious about the connotations of certain phrases and words and what it actually means because a lot of meaning is lost when you take some of these more very cultural terms and localize them the way that so much anime is localized. I wish they
Oh,
kept a
like
lot more of
90s
the
anime is just full of
Mhm.
dumbing down, even for
Well,
the
and this is
children's shows.
2000s anime even, but even things that I mean, I don't know if anime's improved in the past 15 years, but even things like Kitsune and Tanuki are like they basically assume that people will have no idea what those are. Uh, so there's a lot of stuff where I was
Kinda,
like, okay,
sorta.
sometimes I am actually looking things up to just see, okay, how did they write this in hiragana so I can understand what they're trying to say.
Well, one thing I have noticed is that Japanese producers or distributors or whoever's in charge of licensing it to American companies assume that Americans have absolutely zero knowledge on Japanese culture. And in fact, they will attempt to whitewash series.
Which I think that assumption is fine if you take it in a way like I would rather like I would have so much throughout my life preferred if the anime that I watched in middle and high school educated me about Japan instead of telling me that rice balls were jelly-filled donuts.
That's my point of whitewashing it.
See, that's just really bad scripting. Some of
the
it, like the blatantly needing to call out what a yokai is, some of that does come from demands from us, not on our side, not so much their side.
No, it's a lot of it comes from their side too. My
Some of it
favorite
does,
case
but
in
not all
point
of it.
is the anime that we know in America as Case Closed. In Japan, it was Detective Conan. They couldn't do that because of the estate of Arthur Conan Doyle, making sure they couldn't use that name. I'm fine with that. It was what else they did to the series. One
Yeah.
of the early episodes, I think it was like number 6. They're riding the Shinkansen, which is the big cross-country Japan train. And the entire solution to the story is on what side of the train you can see Mount Fuji. And, anybody who knows Mount Fuji, it's freaking obviously Mount
It's
Fuji.
Mount freaking Fuji.
But when they translated it into English, they decided to call it Mount Frederick.
My soul.
See,
My soul
Yeah.
leaves my body.
if they had tried to go quite that far with Inuyasha and the Edo period, I think they would have BSOD'd. You
Now,
can't. There's too much. There's too much to localize if you tried that.
almost the very next episode or the episode before it is a kind of a clue hunt through Tokyo. Only, of course, in the Englishized version, they don't want it to be Tokyo. One of the final solutions is found at Tokyo Tower. You know, one of the most famous Japanese landmarks other than
Right.
Mount Fuji.
That has to show up in almost every Japanese show.
At least every other.
Except for the English version, they didn't call it Tokyo Tower.
Of course they did.
They called it Tojo Tower. And I'm like, what the hell?
I forget what they called it in Power Rangers, but it was just as bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like, we are not dumb.
Yeah.
We know what that
I
is.
mean, we
We've seen
are,
pictures.
but we
Anybody that is remotely interested in what you're showing is going to know what the hell that is.
or have the capacity to learn. I mean,
Yeah.
especially like depends if this is. I mean, especially depending on whether it's something intended for children or for adults. But
Either way, if you call it the Tokyo Tower, nobody's going to fucking care.
right,
Yeah. It's
They're
like
just going to go, oh, it's the Tokyo Tower. And whenever they see that picture, they're going to go, oh, it's the Tokyo Tower.
right.
Yeah. It's
And
like
they
how
see
I'm
the mountain,
pretty
they'll go, oh, it's Mount Fuji.
It's like I'm pretty sure the original dub of Sailor Moon tried to pass it off as not being in Japan at all. And you had like one of the a lot of the pretty much all the characters either being renamed or they'd be lucky enough where it's like Ray and oh my god, what's her name? Sailor Mercury's name is also
Amy.
Amy, yeah. Where it's like they just romanize it instead of being how it would be spelled in Japanese. And it's like one of the characters has like a very thick like Brooklyn accent.
That would be Usagi, aka Serena's friend. Naru.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's really
Or
awkward.
Molly.
Molly, yeah. It's just like when I heard the redub of that and the voice was very normal, I just couldn't help but laugh because I was like, I was so thrown off by the fact she didn't have a thick Brooklyn accent anymore.
Yeah,
Before we spend 2 hours talking about anime, because I know that we have more anime coming down the pipeline. How's your start of the year going, Thomas?
Not too bad. I mean, it was weird that I had 2 Thursdays off in a row. One because I worked 5 days leading into Christmas, and then they decided not to do late night shopping the day on New Year's Eve. So I had 3 days off straight, so that was nice. Especially because Boxing Day fucking sucked. Like I felt like I wanted to just rip my right arm out of the socket.
Yeah,
it was just
Boxing
so
Day always sucks. If you're working any kind of retail, Boxing Day sucks.
Because I was a cleaner in a food court, and I was basically, once I started doing bin runs, I basically didn't stop. It was that insane.
Because you've got A, the after Christmas sales, and B, Christmas returns.
I always felt weird because while I did spend some time in an department store, most of the retail-esque work that I've done has been in KFC fried chicken sales. So while there's a lot of the retail experience there, anything to do with post-Thanksgiving and post-Christmas, it's a completely opposite experience because everyone has turkey leftovers. And therefore there is no, it's the exact opposite in that the week following Thanksgiving and the week following Christmas.
Chicken demands are down.
Yeah, they're the slowest weeks of the year at KFC.
Be thankful you didn't live in Japan. Because their whole KFC's whole marketing in Japan is a Kentucky Christmas.
Yeah, I would not have had Christmas off. That's for sure.
Yeah, they
actually, I think technically on Christmas Day the shops are closed, but they have like pickup only, and they're all pre-ordered, so they're busy all day pushing out the orders.
Yeah.
So technically, you're not that busy, but technically you are that busy.
Because you're still cooking chicken.
Right.
You're still cooking chicken all day, trying to get these orders out on time for when people are coming over to pick them up.
Yep.
Mm.
It's
Um,
that was one of those marketing things that went insane. Much like, here in America, the guy in the 40s that decided turkey is the perfect thing for Thanksgiving.
oh yeah,
And
that whole thing with KFC over there went so crazy that by the 80s, Colonel Sanders was appearing in anime.
yeah, that's what caused me to look all this shit up, Matt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This
that's
is
why
amazing.
the Colonel Sanders makes an appearance in a horror movie in Aiko.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's what caused me to look all that up.
And
But
there's also a KFC themed visual novel, I'm pretty sure, or a dating
Yes,
sim.
there
or
There's a
is.
something like
dating
Yes,
that.
sim, and they're making a video game console now.
Let's not talk about KFC's marketing department. They're insane.
They're
Because then we
insane,
have to
but they're
talk
also
about
geniuses.
then we have to talk about the 15-minute Lifetime movie.
That too.
And if you're gonna do that, you might as well talk about the chicken scented Yule logs, the chicken scented candles.
Well, that's not KFC, but anyway,
That is
I'll intervene really quick.
KFC.
I've had a few things that went down since last week. In the
Okay.
last week or so that we've had off, I got a few games from my Nintendo DS, which happens once in a while, especially during the holidays. Got all the way through a game called 80s Overdrive. Fun racing game, but there are points where it gets really frustrating and you have to sit there and grind forever, and it made my thumb sore.
Oh,
Got through it
I do
eventually, though.
I do have one other piece of news. Erin got her new computer.
Oh yeah, Erin got her
It,
new
it,
computer. She's happy.
it's a monster.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, it's the size of like a toaster oven, if that.
Yeah, I was about to say it's about the
It's
size of an Xbox recently these days.
no, it's
Actually
longer than an
smaller.
Xbox.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm used to a full tower, so this thing is this tiny little thing. Oh my god, is it powerful?
It basically launches Windows in seconds, doesn't it?
Yes, it launches Windows almost immediately. You go to
Wow.
install something, it takes the same time to download because that's our pipeline.
Yeah.
But then it gets to the install portion and click, it's done. It's
Wow.
just almost instantly processed and placed. It's like, Jesus. I told her she should get the Windows startup theme I used to use for Tiny God, which is the scene from Empire Strikes Back where Vader's communicating with the Emperor. And, what is thy bidding, my master?
That's actually not a bad opener.
I
Also,
guess in that case, it means getting her that Steam digital gift card was definitely a good move.
oh yeah,
that
I'm
she
sure
did.
she's already put to use. I would almost think by this point.
Her new monitor comes on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid of this thing.
It's a beast.
She bought a 32-inch 4K monitor. Now, mind you, we have a 60-inch television. So I'm telling her, I don't think you know how big this is, dear. Take a piece of string. Go from the corner of the television to the middle. That's how big your monitor is going to be. I'm not sure she has room on her desk.
Well, she's planning to get rid of a few things. She might have to get rid of a few more things than she expects. But also to wrap up my stuff, along with this racing game I got, which again, perfectly fine game, but I have there's some points where I got a little annoyed with it. I also got Mega Man 2 for the original Game Boy for my 3DS. That is a trip down memory lane, and I'm loving it so far. I used to have the original Mega Man 2 for Game Boy. I'm not sure where it ran off to. I might have it stored somewhere. I just don't know where.
I got an Alexa.
Got an Alexa. Okay.
I haven't set it up yet. I have no idea where I'm going to set it up.
Oh, also, I got a keyboard now, like an actual music keyboard for my computer.
Nice.
I've already tested it live on stream. It's been working out pretty well for me. One of my programs that I use for editing MIDIs for my remixes, it actually takes my keyboard as an input. So I have
nice.
literally all the sound stuff I've been working with already, and now it's available on keyboard.
Awesome.
Now I just have to learn how to play keyboard. I'm slowly getting better.
I can play about 3 songs on a keyboard.
So we need to remember this when we come across our New Year 2022 podcast and see is Matt a full-fledged music producer at that point.
I've already, oh gosh, I'm on my ad. I'm at like 6 original songs so far. I'm slowly hammering things out a little more. I've been practicing this week so I can try and hopefully get something made original again by the next week. We'll see what happens. I've got it in mind that I've been doing like these background themes, and I want to do like kind of an overworld background theme, but it's been me just hammering on violins, going, "Make it sound better." We'll see how far that goes. I might have to quit and just do a remix.
All right.
But yeah. Other than that, Warlock, I'm kind of done with right now for streaming.
All right. So on tonight's show, we've got birthdays, 2 weeks worth. We've got lost stories, 2 of them. We've got our news. We've got our Big Finish releases.
Got ratings. When was the last time we had that?
That would have been season 12.
Before
sir.
quarantine.
Yeah. And we've got some geek talk, quite a bit of geek talk, actually. We've got our episode review, our final thoughts, and our ratings. All right, so let's get started with birthdays. Starting with December 24th, we've got the birthday of John Levine, who played Sergeant Benton from 75 to 76. He turned 79. So Levine's getting up there.
He is, but he's still voice acting, which good on him.
December 25th saw the birthday of Georgia Moffat, who played Jenny in 2008 and is, of course, married to 10th Doctor David Tennant. She turned 36. The 29th saw the birthday of Bernard Cribbins, who played Wilfred Mott from 2007 to 2009. He turned 92. So, wow, he's up there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That'd make him about the same age as oh my god, why am I blanking? The guy who played Ian.
Just about.
Like,
yeah.
Ian's like
I mean,
98, I think.
I mean, he acted in a movie alongside Ian, so
yeah.
Mm.
Also, the 30th saw the birthday of Vivian Opara, who played Tanya in Class. She turned 24. January 1st saw the birthday of Sophie Okonedo, who played Queen Elizabeth X, or Liz 10, back in 2010, 2011.
Mm-hmm.
She turned 52. The 2nd saw the birthday of Deborah Watling, played Victoria back in the Second Doctor era, 67, 68. She would have been 73, but died in 2007 at the age of 69.
Yep.
And finally, on the 6th, we see the birthday of Rowan Atkinson, who played the 9th Doctor in Doctor Who and the Curse of Fatal Death in 1998. He turned 66 and is still pretty active from what I've heard.
Yeah, he's still doing stuff occasionally.
So happy birthday, John, Georgia, Bernard, Vivian, Sophie, Deborah, and Rowan. Moving on to our Lost Stories category. It is AUP's sad duty to announce the death of writer Philip Martin, the man who created the villain Syl. Philip was born in Liverpool. His early work included scripts for Z-Cars and the series Gangsters. He was hired by John Nathan Turner and Eric Saward in 1985 to write a script for Doctor Who that became Vengeance on Varos. The serial and the character of Syl were popular enough that he was called back the following season and asked to make another one, which became Mind Warp, part of the Trial of a Time Lord season. A third script, Mission to Magnus, was never filmed when the show was put on hiatus in 85. It was later novelized by Martin in 1990 and recorded by Big Finish. His work after Doctor Who includes Tandoori Nights, Star Cops, Virtual Murder, and Hetty Wainthropp Investigates. In 2019, Martin revisited the character of Syl, much acclaim, in an independent broadcast television series from Real Time Pictures Limited, Syl and the Devil Seeds of Arador. Philip Martin died on the 13th of December, but his family did not release news of his death to the media until the 28th of December. He was 82. And then AUP is sad to announce the death of Mark Eden, who played the titular Marco Polo in the early 1964 serial. Mark wanted to be an actor ever since he was exposed to Shakespeare as a child. However, a battle with tuberculosis resulting in a 2-year trip to a sanatorium, followed by other real-life events, kept Mark from pursuing said dream until his late 20s. He first joined the Everyman Theater group in Ramsgate, which his first play received rave reviews. This led to a role in 1958's Quatermass and The Pit, a role that got the attention of the Doctor Who production team, and he was cast for the role of Marco Polo in the then fledgling series. He would then go on to do roles in the 1965 movie Dr. Zhivago, and on TV he had roles in The Avengers, The Prisoner, The Newcomer, Said Cars, Clouds of Witness, Murder Must Advertise, The Top Secret Life of Edgar Briggs, London Belongs to Me, Poldark, and The Detective and Crown Court. He is best known for his 8-year stretch on Coronation Street playing Alan Bradley. One of his final roles was in 2013 An Adventures in Space and Time, portraying BBC exec Donald Baverstock. Alan retired due to Alzheimer's disease and died on New Year's Day after a long battle with the illness. He was 92 years old. He is survived by his third wife, the actress Sue Nichols, his daughter Polly, his stepson Saul, and his great-granddaughter Emma. So, there we go. That's the end of 50 years of BBC history right there.
Yeah.
Both good runs, at least. They both made it past made it into the 80s and above.
Yeah, I mean, he was 92, but still, that's, almost 10 years battling Alzheimer's disease. That's not a way I'd want to go.
Yeah.
True.
I didn't even realize he was in Adventures in Space and Time, which just shows how many references that particular little story had in it, tucked away in all the little corners.
Yeah. Moving on. Overnight viewing figures for Revolution of the Daleks are in. It had an overnight viewing audience of 4.69 million viewers. This figure made Doctor Who the most watched program on BBC One for New Year's Day. Doctor Who had a 21.1 share of the total TV audience. Top overall was ITV's Evening News, which had 5.5 million viewers, while Coronation Street came in second with 5.0 million watching. This is not surprising. Against the Doctor, Emmerdale had 4.6 million watching. That's surprising. Emmerdale usually beats out Doctor Who.
Yeah.
On BBC One, EastEnders had 3.3 million, while the comedy Mrs. Brown Boys had 3.7 million viewers, both also frequent beaters of Doctor Who. Final official figures will be available next week.
I believe I saw the numbers comparison, and I believe the numbers for this one almost exactly match Part 2 of Skyfall from the previous season. So it's at least a jump back up, but we'll see how far it goes.
Yeah, there's usually a holiday jump. I saw some people going worst ratings ever, and I'm like, not really.
Not yet. Not yet. If there's zero flat line over the week, then you can maybe start claiming that this might be pretty bad, but...
Yeah, I mean, like, if it was this numbers on Christmas, maybe you could argue, wow, that's a bit low, but...
Yeah, that's the other thing,
it was
too,
New
is
Year's
that
Day
for a
instead,
reason, there's not a lot of people watching New Year's, to be honest.
Because, yeah, like, nothing
And,
really had
over the
huge numbers.
Hello?
Yeah, everybody stop talking.
Overboard. What are you saying, hello? What?
Yeah, we lost you for a moment, Bill.
Oh, great. But over the last, you can hear me clearly now?
Yeah, so far.
Yeah.
Okay. over the last year or two, there's been a significant trend of fewer people watching it overnight and more people watching it as the week goes on through
on the
iPlayer and whatnot.
on the 7-day. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
people watch it at their leisure, not necessarily on the broadcast. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
less and
so
less and less on
we'll
a
really
stream
see. It'll be
or
really
on
telling
TV.
if the numbers are sharply disappointing after the 7-day.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. The soundtrack to the New Year's Day special dropped on the 4th of January. It is, of course, composed by Doctor Who series composer Sigyn Akinola and consists of 12 tracks, 367 minutes, a cuppa, something revolutionary, breakout ball, the clone, the production line, stability and security, thank you for being my friend, activate the death squad, bad boys, and bye fam. It is available on iTunes and Amazon, Spotify, Deezer, and Tidal for £8.99. And I'm pretty sure it'll be available on physical copy at some point.
Probably if they're already putting it out there. It's kind of unusual to put out a single episode original soundtrack, but I suppose if it's a lot of new stuff.
I've been composing a full track of Doctor Who soundtracks on YouTube Music, and I'm surprised on how many soundtracks were released that I never knew of. Like, I didn't know they released a full soundtrack to the Daleks.
Oh.
And they released one for Caves of Androzani, too.
Hmm.
They did both of those in 2013. I'm like, I didn't hear about these when they came out.
Yeah, I don't recall that. I keep recalling, like, they do, like, giant season gaps of music, but never a single story at a time, especially from Classic Who.
Yeah. The Crotons, I think, got one too. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I had not heard of these, but I've been adding them to my my playlist of Doctor Who music that I tend to use when I'm trying to relax. I wish they would do one for the Moon Base, so you get that classic Cyber March. The because they already got one. They already got Earthshock in the 50th anniversary.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom.
So, moving on again. The post-credit teaser for the New Year special introduced us to a new companion that will be joining for Series 13. This companion's name is Dan, acted by what is his name?
Bishop.
John Bishop.
John Bishop, who is a actor and comedian.
I have to say he reminds me actually a bit of John Berman already. Just by
I
the
wouldn't
look
say
of
he
him.
reminds me of John Barrowman, but he does have that pretty boy look to him.
Yeah.
Not necessarily pretty boy. I mean, it's more of he's 30s or 40s, but kind of that Hugh Granty look.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see his role.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he's up to.
That's a leading man face.
Just about, yeah.
I will say, like, initially my reaction when I heard about this news, because for whatever, like, it's funny because that wasn't on the version of it that I watched. I had to find it on YouTube to see that, but it was so, to me it was like, yay, we're getting a series with just Yaz so we can focus on her, and then never mind.
That was my exact response too.
Yeah, I'm hoping he's not introduced in the very first episode, although he very well may be.
He probably will be.
Yeah, if he's been credited for the whole season, he's going to get introduced the first episode somewhere.
So that's true, because if he was being released mid-season, Chibnall would keep it secret whether he was going to be a companion or not.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, Chibnall has said that apparently they've been in talks getting him onto the show for like a year or two, with nothing getting public. So he managed to at least keep the talks under wraps.
That's a novel for Chibnall.
But yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed because I was really hoping for a lot of
Yeah.
character development for Yaz, but now they're going to have to cram a lot of character development for the new character, which makes me wonder if Yaz is once again just going to be the Doctor's shadow. And that's a
Actually, I'm
crying.
kind of hoping that maybe she'll play off this guy like Graham and Ryan have been playing off each other for the last 2 seasons.
I don't know. I don't see
But
it.
we'll have to
I
wait
mean-
to see. It'll probably do a different kind of chemistry, but
I mean, she had good chemistry with Graham, but it wasn't like development chemistry. It was like, comic chemistry.
Yeah, and she actually had good character development chemistry with Ryan when they gave it to her, which was all of 2 scenes.
yeah.
Yeah, it's why I was like, and also it just would have felt nice to go from 3 companions to 1 instead of 3 to 2, which is what we're essentially getting.
2 is at least more tolerable.
Yeah, it's
Well,
more
yeah,
manageable.
Because if you think of the run of the show, 2 companions was a regular thing during the end of the first Doctor era, and was a regular thing during the second Doctor era. And it wasn't until the third Doctor era that they toned it down to 1, but they added all the unit side cast.
Right.
And then it was just kind of left at 1 when the unit group got left behind until the 5th Doctor era. Or I guess until they added K9.
And yeah, technically until the 4th Doctor era, when it went back up to 2, and then occasionally 3, and then back down to 2, back up to 3 again at the 5th Doctor era.
And then they dropped it all and went back to 1.
Yeah, then they would drop
And
it back
left it
down to
that
1
way
for
till the end of the
the 6th Doctor on.
Until the end of the show. Then it was 1 with 9, 1.5. Well, until Jack. 1.5 with 10.
It was like 1, and then 1 and Jack, 1 Jack and Mickey, back to 1.
1 and Mickey.
Then 2. No, I won't. I will call Mickey appropriately 2 at that point.
Yeah.
For about 2 episodes.
That was only for like 2 episodes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then back to 1. And then they mostly keep it at 1 until you get to Amy and Rory. With the occasional second person cameoing for an episode.
Amy and Rory as guest stars of the River Song Show. Featuring the Doctor.
And then we went back to Clara. And then Bill and Nardole.
Yeah.
And then we've gone to the Fam. And I always said the Fam was a mistake because we had writers that were not used to Doctor Who, production crew that was completely from scratch, and actors that were brand new to the show all at the same time.
True.
Yeah, there's just too many fresh faces all at once, and it's just not quite panning out.
I always said that was a train wreck in the making. And it was Yaz that got sacrificed on the altar of character development.
All three showrunners of Modern Who have tried to start off with a big family thing. Except Jackie, they never brought on the TARDIS for more than an episode. They had a family thing, but they never tried to actually make it on the TARDIS family thing. She was able to stay back and be the Mike Yates of the show.
Kind of, sort of.
But yeah, like I feel like the other reason it bugs me is just because this would probably be Yaz's last series. I would be very surprised.
Yeah.
If Yaz is around for series 14. So, like, given this is probably going to be her out, and it's going to be a shorter series anyway, it felt like it would have made more sense to have only Yaz for series 13 and then introduce the new guy in the special afterwards or something.
Especially since this is going to be a short series.
Because except for K9 and people like the Brigadier or Jack who go in and out of existence, we've never had a 4-season companion.
Yeah, not in the new show, and I don't think it really have in the old show.
The old show. I think K9 might have had more than 3 seasons, but he was never the primary companion.
He
Yeah,
had the
yeah.
breaks in between too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's stories where he'd be on the TARDIS, but like wouldn't actually be a
Actually,
part of the
he had
story.
3. Yeah, he had one with Leela, and 3 with Romana. So
He had half a season with Leela. I think
Something like that.
half a season with that, 1 season with Romana 1, and then 2.5.
2.
Yeah, with Romana 2. Or a season and a half with Romana 2, something like that.
Right.
Anyway, and one of those seasons he had a different voice actor. So
Yep.
Mhm.
kind of weird. Anyway, moving on to our Big Finish news, we've got a bunch of new releases since it's been 2 weeks. First release was for Christmas was Bernice Summerfield, Santa Benny, and The Bottom of the Sea with Lisa Bowerman. Then we have a Short Trip, Free Speech with Jacob Dudman. Then the release that they've been touting for about a year now, Masterful, with Jeffrey Beavers, Mark Gatiss, Michelle Gomez, Derek Jacobi, Alex McQueen, Milo Parker, Eric Roberts, and John Sim.
And that's to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Master.
Correct. Then released earlier this week is the Fourth Doctor Adventure Series 10, Volume 2 with Tom Baker and Louise Jameson. And then finally released today was Bernice Summerfield, The Big Hunt with Lisa Bowerman. So that should get you up to date on all the Big Finish new releases. There is no free Big Finish this week. They might not be doing that this year. Ooh, excuse me.
I'm assuming it would be a thing of like stuff would have to get as bad as it was when they started doing it for them to
Like in
consider
like
doing
April
it
or
again.
March of last year, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they just
or they'll
they,
do
they,
it like occasionally, but not all
I
the
mean,
time.
the UK just announced a new lockdown.
Yeah.
And I know the national COVID incident toll today or yesterday was the worst it's ever been. So we're far from out of the woods on that yet. But they just might not be able to afford keep bringing out
that
releases.
might be it as well.
Anyway, that is all the news we have. Let us take to Geek Talk. Our first is television streaming, and Thomas is going to have something to talk about while I rest my throat.
I finally got past the halfway mark in Naruto Shippuden, or like
Which some Google searching
yeah.
has taught me is basically Naruto Z for those of us who, like myself, did not know, because I always thought Naruto Shippuden was the full name and Naruto was just a short name, but that was not correct.
No, whenever an anime releases a major change, they give it some kind of appending title to it to make it a little different. Because technically speaking, production wise, it's a different show. Ranma 1/2, the first season of Ranma 1/2 is called Ranma 1/2, and then the second season is called
2/2.
No, it's
I would know if that were the case.
It's called Ranma 1/2 Nitohen, or Ranma 1/2 Enthusiasm. And the only reason that was separated was because the original production studio that did the first season went out of business.
Oh.
So they had to switch production studios.
And just continued as such. Anyways, continue.
And it is funny because Naruto itself, like the original anime, is like 222 episodes long, I think, whereas this is 500. So I was almost just gonna like get to the halfway mark and stop, but the halfway mark is part of the story arc that I was up to. So I just kept going, which is why in the Geek Talk section it says first 256 episodes instead of just 250. Early stuff I'm hazy on now, so this will mostly be talking about the more recent stuff. But for the obvious fact that I'm this far into it, I do enjoy it. I know a lot of people have problems with Naruto, and some of them have become more obvious to me now that I'm just older and am paying attention a bit closer and like, oh, okay, yeah, they do these things that people mock all the time. Like there was actually a filler episode more recently where I almost thought they were going to do a flashback within a flashback, and was like, that would be very much something that people have joked about before. So, and thankfully they don't. They come out of a flashback and then do another one.
Yeah, that a
Um,
flashback and a flashback is considered bad writing.
Yeah.
It is a writing faux pas if you do a flashback and a flashback.
Yeah. Or it'll be a thing of like Naruto has the habit of which I assume it's more so just like a shonen anime trope to like, oh, we're gonna and just like Naruto just maybe uses it more often so it's more noticeable. Where like it'll turn out like, it'll flash back to the scene from like 5 minutes ago or something.
Yeah, the only
to
way a
reuse that
flashback and a
quote.
flashback is allowed is as a joke, as a parody to flashbacks.
Yeah.
Deadpool.
Yeah, Deadpool could do it.
Mm. Yeah, but
Deadpool did do it.
yeah.
And
No,
joked about it as he did it.
He broke the
Yeah.
fourth wall within a fourth wall break.
Yeah. But yeah, like, and also just Naruto gets a lot of shit for its filler, but there is at least some filler that I'm willing to go to bat for because it's actually like, I guess I won't specify who to avoid spoilers, even though I feel like we're that far removed. There is a full blown following Naruto's kid sequel now that we're that far removed that I could probably say, but like there's a minor-ish character who's one of the team captains who in story stuff very early dies. And so what Naruto Shippuden does is they have a filler arc to get to know this character a bit more and then kill him off in the story stuff. So it's like, okay, that was smart. Let's build up this character a bit more so it actually means something when he dies rather than just, oh, hey, here's that guy who's the team captain for these people that you know, but you don't really give that much of a shit about him because you don't know him that well.
And whoops,
And
he's a red shirt.
um it's like I think it's like he sacrifices himself essentially to take out one of the Akatsuki or something like that. But yeah, generally it's like, okay, we set this guy up, and it did actually hit me in the gut a bit when he did die and the character's reactions to his death because we got to know him a little better because they had like a 5 episode arc or something for him leading into it. So, and like it's basically when Naruto does filler like that I'm more willing to be like, no, that was smart. They're setting up like this character's about to be important, so let's actually build them up a bit more because they've done basically nothing otherwise. Or just I like it when characters that aren't Naruto get focus episodes, which are likely to be filler. Some of them aren't, but like there are some like actual story, like pushing the story forward episodes that do have basically nothing to do with Naruto at all. But it's like, hey, we're in a filler arc anyway, and these characters haven't shown up in a while, and they're probably going to once the story kicks back in. So let's, give them something, or we'll delve back into memories that they had of previous events or something, or whatever the hell. Um, and I mean, like, it was funny because I know I was having a discussion with someone about certain ways that that they like skip filler, and then I got to like an episode of like a filler episode where they end up on this island that seems to have all these like summoning animals on it. So like basically kaiju sized animals on it. And they find this lab like near a like an open just this open bit of ground that basically leads into lava. And they go in and it looks like a giant fucking baby in this weird fucking gigantic pool of whatever. And it's just like, oh, well, this took a weird turn. And then it turns into a fucking like, some unholy abomination. And it's just like, I could have missed this if I if I'd skipped the filler, so I'm glad I didn't. Because this is fucking weird and I love it. It's like it's a one-off and it has nothing to really do with anything, but it's still just like, huh. Granted, it's like a 3-episode mini arc, really, where like it kind of involves ghosts in a way. Like it turns out, oh, actually, ghosts for like 3-episode filler episodes straight, and it's like, okay. But I was generally glad for that filler arc that I finally got through because I took a break from Shippuden after getting through the Pain's Assault arc, which just the ending of that is an emotional gut punch for me, at least, because essentially it's after everything's gone down, Naruto is finally embraced by the Hidden Leaf Village, which he, up to this point, has something that he's wanted his whole life, is just to be accepted for who he is, and the village finally fully embraces him. And to me, I broke down, and it was a messy cry. It was like, because it was just like, finally, this fucking village finally gives a shit about him. And then you get to this arc that I just got through now, which is the setup for the Fourth Shinobi World War. And it was like, there's another emotional gut punch in that I'm like, I'm glad there was a filler arc in between, because those 2 emotional gut punches in a row would have been a bit much. And like, maybe it's just for me because this show, like, I even joked some like in a Discord server that it's like the show really knows what buttons to press to get me to emotionally like have that. But yeah, that's about where I'm up to. I'm looking to finish this. I'm not even gonna have a time frame other than just by the end of this year, because I don't know. Because I've still got like 200 odd or 300 odd whatever episodes left. But yeah, I enjoy it. Like, if people would need to just skip the filler to get through it, whatever, but I'm going through all of it, so it'll take me a while. Yeah, that's about it.
All right. I was about to say it was 10 minutes, but
Yeah.
you sound like you were getting to closing anyways, so I just held my tongue.
All right, so now both Thomas and myself are going to talk about Wonder Woman 1984, the movie that came out on Christmas. I watched it on HBO Max. Thomas watched it in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion thus far is the fact that DC always seems to be taking one step forward and one step back. This movie, they've kind of failed to learn their lesson. And again, they're once again taking some of their characters, in this case the villains, and kind of making off characterizations for them. The worst sufferer is the character of Maxwell Lord, who is played by Mandalorian Pedro Pascal in this movie. The comic books have Maxwell Lord as a smart but not overly smart son of a rich family, Maxwell Lord IV, who was a successful businessman who has some unsavory business practices. This one portrays Lord as a failed, self-made millionaire who's basically having a Ponzi scheme collapse around him.
And is sort of done up to look sort of Trump-ish.
Sort of Trumpish. Oddly enough, I heard in interviews he wanted to actually base his character on Gordon Gekko from Wall Street. And the directors told him, no, go a different direction. I actually think that would have been closer to the traditional Maxwell Lord.
Yeah, so bad direction there.
What saves Lord in this is his compassion for his son, something the comic book version never had. Also, suffering by the wayside is Barbara Ann Minerva, who is the cheetah. She basically suffers from a lack of character development. Her character development kind of goes the way of Catwoman from Batman Returns.
That's not a good sign.
I'm empowered, so now I do what I want.
And even then, your mileage may vary on that particular version of Catwoman too.
Although I guess it's better than the Halle Berry version.
Yeah. I saw people making comparisons to Halle Berry Catwoman, then I watched it and I'm like, no, it's more Batman Returns Catwoman.
Yeah, okay, so you and I agree on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's she gets empowered and now she's evil.
Yeah.
And I understand where they were trying to go with this, because the entire plot revolves around basically a monkey's paw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you know the reference, it's something you can make a wish on, but it gives you what you wish for, but it takes something in return. She wished to become powerful, but in return it took her humanity.
Yeah.
But it doesn't come off well.
Yeah.
Just comes off as stilted and weird.
Yes.
It's like you kind of get where they were going for, but they kind of forgot where they were going for.
And they didn't really kind of show us the steps it went through. They showed us kind of beginning, middle, and end, but not the steps in between. So
yeah. Like there is literally a point where Diana says, "You're hurting innocent people," and I'm like, the only people she's attacked outside of Diana were provoking her, so I don't get where we're pulling that from.
It's one of these things that it just kind of felt forced.
Yeah.
Also, I hear the CG isn't that great.
The CG for the cheetah, I was actually very much enjoying.
Yeah,
Okay.
like they were smart enough to basically have like her face is just her face with makeup. Like it's not they don't go as I've seen some people compare it to 2019 Cats, and it's like, no, that's a bit cruel. It's her face is her face. It's just she's got some makeup on it to make it look more cheetah like, I guess. Rather than them going like full animal with it.
I wouldn't have wanted them to put a muzzle on it. That would have been a bit
That will push it too far away from the actual character anyway.
Yes, it would have. It looked fine for what it was.
Yeah.
And the fight scene between Wonder Woman and Cheetah is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
That's probably one of my favorite parts of the damn movie. The other character you have that comes back is Steve Rogers, is played by Chris Pine, who is basically wished back, but it's kind of a quantum leap thing, where he's basically forced into a body, and if he looks in the mirror, he sees somebody else. I literally kept waiting for Al to show up. Okay, this is what you've got to do. all in all, one of the things I do have to give credit for, it felt 80s. And they were aiming for it to feel 80s. It was supposed to take place in 1984. The costumes, the music, all of it felt like the mid 80s. I'm watching people in, spandex aerobics outfits, colors that I saw a lot of in the 80s. I'm like, oh God, this is so 80s.
I heard they fucked up on the soundtrack though.
I
At what
heard that they fucked up on the soundtrack because there's stuff that's from late 80s in there, and I also hear that they fucked up on the arcades in the background because there's also a couple of late 80s ones in there.
I was just saying I heard there was nothing from that time period in the soundtrack.
Oh, actually, yeah, that's right. There actually wasn't any time period music from what I heard.
That I couldn't say. I mean, I knew it was 80s, but I'm not very good on when stuff was released in the 80s. Except for a few songs. So I wasn't. Yeah. And yeah, I did notice that one of the arcade games was thought was like an 88 arcade game. But I let that slide. At least they weren't playing Street Fighter. All in all, it's okay. I enjoyed it to an extent, but I really thought they could have done better with this.
Yeah. As far as that, like the aspect of Steve essentially possessing someone else, I didn't even think about it while watching the movie, but after it was pointed out to me, I really went, oh yeah, there's some like consent issues going on now, because it's pretty clear that Diana and Steve fuck, or at least it's very heavily implied that they've fucked. And it's like, so he's not he's in a body that it's not his, and he's having sex with Diana. This guy, God knows where the hell his consciousness went, but he's not consenting to this, so it's a bit muddled.
Yeah.
And they never mention it. Like, there's never anything of like, hey, this isn't my body. I need to go. You need to undo this so I can let this guy live his life. That like never comes up.
No, in fact, even at the end, Diana's basically going, no, I'm not giving you up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? The morality of this never actually has occurred to you? That you basically shunted some guy's consciousness, God knows where?
Yeah, which seems extremely out of character, at least for me. Like, I don't know a shit ton about Wonder Woman, but that seems very out of character for Wonder Woman.
As a hero, it is out of character.
Yeah. She's supposed to be right up there in the moral tier of Superman, and that would weird her out.
Like, so it is just sorry, and it is funny because it's also like, but going by comic book logic anyway, that this is possible. So why not just say that like the Wish created him a new body?
That's what people were saying
like
too.
Someone else. Yeah. Like it doesn't even have to look like Steve, so you can still have the initial, oh, you don't look like him, and then it turns out it's him. Like, you could still do that without saying he possessed someone else's body.
Yeah, or just break Steve back so that it
Yeah, and just have it be that like the idea being that when it's taken back, that like the body just disintegrates or something.
Yeah,
it just ceases to be.
But no, instead they brought up this whole level of ew.
Yeah. Which that like as that the more I thought about it, I'm like, wait, so we got that with you would think, and there's also stuff like, speaking of consent stuff, there's also like the fact that Barbara, they do a thing with Barbara where she almost gets assaulted but is saved. And then when she gets her powers, she confronts the guy again. And she runs into the same guy and she attacks him, and they're trying to play that off as, oh my god, she's going too far. And I'm like, fuck you. He was probably going to rape her. let her kick the shit out of him. I don't give a crap. Like, this guy deserves it.
They're trying to push the fact that she probably killed him, but
Yeah.
they whooshed out at the last second.
Yeah, and it's
'Cause
like if the idea
I
had been killing him was too far, that'd be fine. But it's also like kicking the shit out of him is about as much as we actually see. So it's
It's
like,
hard to say,
yay,
yeah.
good for you. Like, I honestly thought that it would have been made more sense to have her increasingly be shittier to the homeless man she's shown being nice to, and maybe she attacks him, not like beats the shit out of him, but just like attacks him. And it's like, okay, there you go. She's worse now
what
because
is
she's treating someone like shit that she used to be nice to.
Yeah, like I said, I thought they just kind of did that wrong. I'm
Yeah.
wondering if the fact if they had a cut where she did go that far.
Well, actually,
And
I
then
don't know
they
if they had a cut, but I do know that apparently shooting the movie got complicated due to COVID.
No, it's this wouldn't have been a COVID thing.
Yeah, this is supposed to be out in like March,
Um,
wasn't it?
hmm?
This was supposed to be out in
I'm
like March
wondering if
or
this was
May.
cut back to try to keep it at PG-13.
Probably.
I'm not entirely sure. Maybe the scene was cut back, but I've heard that from actual people involved that some parts got complicated to get finished because they were cut off by COVID for a while.
Yeah, but I mean, this was a scene where multiple people were acting in the same area, and
Hard to say.
with or without COVID, that would have had to been the same scene. But
Yeah.
no,
I will say as well that I can see where people are coming from. I don't know. Maybe it's just I have enough of a disconnect that it didn't occur to me as much. But I know I like thinking about it in simplistic terms. I can see where people are coming from because there was people being like, "Wow, the only times we see Middle Eastern people, they're either talking about oil or wanting nuclear weapons," and it's like, okay. I mean, like, in one case, it's like, well, he's supposed to be royalty, so whatever. But, like, they show, like, some random soldier wishing for nuclear weapons and shit, and it's like,
that one's
okay.
there. The Arab prince that he's trying to negotiate for oil that's the reason he went to him. So I don't include that as
Yeah.
being an argument. The
Yeah.
guy that at the time he was trying to be an oil baron,
Yeah.
so that didn't bother me.
Yeah. And again, for me, the disconnect was, well, at least this is like a dude of privilege in this area anyway, and not like some random guy on the street being like, oh yeah, like, you know, being really gung-ho about whatever
Yeah,
stuff like that. It was funny because I almost did have a negative, and then it occurred to me, oh wait, no, this actually fits within the story they're telling, so fair enough. I will say the movie did get me emotionally once, and this is one thing like where Wonder Woman, like the original movie, was like two strong acts and then a weak one. This was, I initially enjoyed it, or like there was like bits here and there where I'm like, but overall, and it was after the fact thinking about it that I'm like, okay, yeah, wait.
yeah. That's my whole thing about this movie. I enjoyed watching it the first time, and then when I sat back and thought about it, I'm like, huh. It took a while for it to sink in. Now, I'd like to take a moment and talk about the fact that we both saw it in different formats. You did the traditional thing of went to the theater. I watched it on HBO Max on my television at home. To be honest, I didn't miss the theater.
There is definitely not really enough to be like, wow, I wish I'd seen this on the big screen by comparison.
Yeah, I mean, I have, a 60-inch television. That's, well, it's not like, I think it's 4K, it's UHD. So it's fairly high quality.
Yeah.
And it has a decent sound system in it, so we could hear it just fine. We weren't hurting for that. But just being able to be on my own couch, watching it, being able to talk with Aaron about the plot while we're watching it, and then just, going into our own kitchen and heating up a bag of popcorn and not having to pay outrageous movie prices, was so totally worth it for me.
I guess to be fair, the only thing I really forked out money for was food, because I realized that I still had a couple of $8 vouchers that were valid until the end of this month. So I used that to see this and the movie I'll be talking about later. Because I was just like, yeah, I need to use these, so I'll just use it on that.
Okay, is there anything else to say?
Nah, that's about it.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next one I have. And this one I also watched on Christmas Day with Aaron. And that is the new Pixar movie Soul, which also was released that day on Disney+. This is, of course, another little Pixar classic. A story of a jazz singer who is killed in an accident. And then before going into the great beyond, he manages to escape and winds up trying to into place where they guide new souls to go down to Earth. And he basically hatches a plot to go back to his own body. And it's actually kind of a feel-good little film. As we see this guy as he's rapidly trying to go back, because all this happened on the day he was about to get his big break and all this. And it's a fun little movie. I think watching this and Inside Out at the same time would be a weird bit of introspection. One of the odd things about this movie is that the new souls and everybody are watched over by these divine beings that look like Picasso paintings, and speak with British accents that sound like they might come out of Monty Python. One of them is the number cruncher that notices that there's a soul missing and is determined to bring him back, and nobody else cares. But they're very amusing, especially the number cruncher as he goes down to Earth and fucks up repeatedly. But the whole thing is about finding your passions and, what drives a soul. And that was some very interesting bits. And of course, there's a lot of jazz music put into it, which is really interesting because you know who composed the score for this? Trent Reznor. If you don't know who Trent Reznor is, let me say the name 9 Inch Nails. This is the same guy that did Hurt. The song later made immortal by Johnny Cash. But here he's doing like light jazz and stuff, and I really wouldn't have associated light jazz with Trent Reznor. But it still comes off as this great little movie, like, Pixar movies do. It's definitely worth a watch if you like Pixar stuff. That's really all I have to say about that.
I think the interesting thing I learned was that specifically the piano stuff was done by John Baptiste, who is like the music guy with on Stephen Colbert's The Late Show.
That wouldn't surprise me. I was wondering if the piano stuff was done by the other name that was listed there. Yeah. Because he's basically a jazz pianist. the main
Mm,
character.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is he gets a break to play with this jazz legend, and on his way back home to get ready for it, he falls down an open manhole cover and dies. Although his body is technically in the hospital, eventually him and the soul he's mentoring fall down to earth, and the soul winds up in his body, and he winds up in a cat.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not happy about that, but it's...
Is that a jazz pun? Because people get called cats in jazz slang?
No, it's pretty literal. There's
No,
one
I mean,
point...
is that how it got written into the story as a pun?
Hard to say.
If so, they don't make any deliberate references to it.
Gotcha.
It was supposed to be a hospital companion cat, and he fell into that, and you later see the soul of the cat on the trip up to the great beyond. But it's weird because they have some like moments where he's trying to tell the soul what to do, and he winds up in a sunbeam and just kind of falls over, because that's what cats do. Gets distracted by a laser pointer at one point.
Don't we all?
But
Squirrel.
no, that's dogs. But it's a fun little movie, and like I said, it's, if you like Pixar stuff, it's worth watching. It's currently free on Disney Plus, so I'll hand it over to Thomas for the remaining 2 items.
Yep.
Try to make them snappy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we've been at this a while.
So yeah, I as well as seeing Wonder Woman 84, I also went and saw the newest adaptation of The Witches. And I did not necessarily have high hopes. Like, I wasn't expecting it to be bad or anything. But honestly, I came out of this like, wow, this was a lot better than I was expecting it to be.
Apparently, the original one is one of her favorite old movies, or at least one that she remembers watching a few times as a child.
Because it's funny because I think I've only seen the original adaptation once or twice, though it did come out the year I was born, so that would probably make sense. Because I wouldn't have seen it until later. But yeah, it's interesting because like they shift the whole thing, because while it's in the original book, it is still supposed to be an American kid, but the setting is primarily in England. In this case, they've just gone, fuck it. Instead of being, I guess, given that the book apparently came out in the 80s, I guess it was supposed to be contemporary. In this case, this movie has pushed it back to the 60s in Alabama. And
that's really, really weird. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a strange push for it.
Yeah. But honestly, initially I was like, well, that's an odd choice. But at the same time, I'm like, you know what? At least they didn't make it contemporary, because that would have been a lot of the plot would not work if this was contemporary now. Like in 1990 really is about the last time, or at least pre 9/11 is about the last time you can set it. Because after that, a lot of this shit the witches get up to would not work. And like generally, like, them like being in a little convention hall inside this swanky hotel, there'd be security cameras in that room, so they'd be found out pretty quick.
Not necessarily security cameras, but there definitely would be security constantly monitoring the door.
Yeah, like they wouldn't be allowed to just lock themselves in and like, do whatever they want in there. It's like there'd be some kind of security set up.
So the original novel, which was published in 1983 by Roald Dahl, the same person that did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Charlie Chocolate Factory,
Mhm.
BFG, and a couple others.
Yeah, is
Giant
about
Peach.
a English boy who goes to live with his
Ah.
Norwegian grandmother.
So it must just be the movie then. Might just be the 1990 movie makes him American then. I don't know. Because I remember one of them, it's like still an American boy, but they've moved this, but the setting is still England. So maybe it's a 1990 movie. I don't know.
Yeah, he's an American boy in the 90 film who goes to live with
Yeah.
his Norwegian grandmother.
Yeah.
So
And
that
they
much
have
is
to
still
end up
true.
living in England. So it's so it's a bit weird, but yeah. But yeah, Anne Hathaway honestly does pretty good as the Grand High Witch in this. It's also kind of interesting because rather than having like the big like Jim Henson prosthetics, which apparently oh my god, I'm blanking on it. Angelica Houston hated because apparently they took 6 hours to apply and 6 hours to take off. So she fucking hated that shit. So all I can see is they look at that and go, let's not do that.
Well, depends on
And
what the alternative is.
yeah, and instead the witches just have like Glasgow smiles, and the Glasgow smile actually opens up to them having a bigger mouth. And basically, they have if anyone's ever played like um Mortal Kombat, like Melina, think like more normal teeth, but that kind of a mouth. And it was like, honestly, this effect doesn't look that bad. This looks like they put the money in, so and like gave these people the time to do these effects right. And they still do like I mean, I assume the witches not having toes was a practical enough thing to do. Just like give them the
That should be
skin
easy
tone
enough to do,
thing
yeah.
to yeah.
Just because we're
Um
going so long, if you're critiquing toes, it might be time to move on.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I enjoyed it. Olivia Spencer was great as the grandmother in this because we've moved from a white kid to a black kid, and so that all works for me. Especially if you're trying to say that the witches are going after poor people, and this is like '60s America. Um, so yeah, very enjoyable. I would say this is worth checking out. So moving on from that to the Mortal Kombat DLC, Mortal Kombat 11 DLC. Basically, this is like the Mortal Kombat 11 story is very time travel heavy. The DLC is no different because it's like, whoops, turns out the way you beat the main villain from the main story actually kind of fucked up everything, and the timeline could basically entirely collapse and we'll all die. So now we've got to go back in time and beat them properly. And, like it's Shang Tsung saying all this. So very clearly there's some dodgy shit going on. And yeah, like it's only 5 chapters long, but it feels very long. And so I was actually pretty satisfied with that. You also get some playable characters as a result. You get to play as Sindel and Shao Kahn in it. Um, as well as some characters you didn't get to play in the main story because they just weren't there. Um, and there are also 2 different endings depending on who you pick in the final fight. So
Hmm.
that was kind of interesting. It gave it a slight amount of replayability because thankfully you do not have to play the whole thing through. Because you can basically just go to a chapter select screen and redo it from the start of that bit of that chapter.
Can I
So
make a
that's nice.
prediction really quick, Thomas?
Mhm.
Are the 2 characters you get to pick from for the final fight from the original game?
Uh, I guess technically yes. You're playing like the final fight is between Liu Kang and
Yeah,
Shang Tsung,
Shang
I should
Tsung.
say.
Yep.
It's like it's this era like versions of them. Like it's end of Mortal Kombat 11 Liu Kang and uh an overpowered Shang Tsung, but yeah. Um It's like sort of to decide the fate of the timeline. It's between those two, so you either get a good ending or a bad ending, depending
Just
on who you
depending
pick.
on which character, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I'd say it's worth checking out if you have the game already. And it might be going. The DLC also might be going cheap at the moment. I think it was when I got it.
It
So
might be
yeah,
on seasonal sale right now.
yeah. So yeah, I'd say it's worth checking out.
All right. So I think
Now
that
let's
takes
see if I can
us.
hopefully get through the summary a bit quicker.
Yeah, that takes. I was about
to
to say
make
that
up
takes
for
us to the summary, which also means more Thomas.
Yeah.
So are you ready?
Seems to be a trend lately of whoever has the geek talk last usually ends up having to
Almost does,
do the
doesn't it?
summary. Yeah.
Are you ready?
Okay. Yep.
All right. 3, 2, 1, begin.
Okay, we open on a callback to Resolution and see the damaged Dalek casing, and before we see the damaged Dalek casing being transported by whoever, we never actually get an explanation, I don't think. Else we get it being transported somewhere, only for the man transporting it to be drugged and knocked out when he stops to get some tea. And the person who drugged him ends up stealing the truck. Also, it's possible that he was killed. I don't know. We then skip ahead to see that Jack Robertson, the Trump analog from Arachnids in the UK, was the one who acquired the casing and has been making security drones in the likeness of Daleks, with funding and approval from a politician named Joe Patterson, who tells him to mass produce them, which he says will take about a year. We also find out later that a scientist working for Robertson called Leo made a clone using Dalek DNA he found on the casing, also having hooked it into the intraneural network, being told to destroy it only for it to take control. Meanwhile, we see the Doctor in a Jadoon prison going about her daily routine before showing what the companions are up to, with Ryan and Graham seemingly going about their lives after being dropped off back on Earth by the Doctor, with Yaz being obsessed with finding the Doctor somehow, having slept in the TARDIS that the Ruth Doctor left behind that had been disguised as a house. Ryan and Graham show her footage of the Robo Daleks, and the three go to confront Robertson, only to fail miserably due to him having better personal security now. We cut back to the Doctor going about her daily routine again, only for her to be rescued by the returning Jack Harkness and get back to Earth, only for the Doctor to realize how long she'd been gone. She was arrived about 10 months out from when she meant to. And the companions fill her in on the Dalek situation, and they track down Robertson, who shows off the production line of the Robo Daleks, while Jack and Yaz investigate the Osaka facility, which turns out to be growing more clone Daleks. The Doctor, Graham, Ryan, and Robertson arrive as Jack and Yaz are setting up bombs, only to be confronted by Leo, still being controlled by Dalek, who admits to having done this itself due to being connected to that network by Leo ages ago and being able to divert funds to have the facility built and even change the drone Dalek designs to be more like proper Daleks. Realizing too late that ultraviolet light had been used to speed up the cloning growth process or something to that effect, the Daleks managed to teleport out to the casings and start to go on a killing spree, with the lead Dalek killing Leo as it teleports away as well for good measure. After thinking it over, the Doctor decides to combat the Daleks by sending out a signal through the time stream to alert a ship of Death Squad Daleks to come in and eliminate the clone Daleks, which they manage to do in short order, while Robertson abandons the Doctor to side with the Death Squad Daleks. Jack, Ryan, and Graham go to the Death Squad Dalek ship to plant bombs on it, only to find out about Robertson's sudden but inevitable betrayal, and end up having to reluctantly save him before teleporting off the ship after detonating the bombs, while the Doctor tricks the remaining Daleks to go into Ruth Doctor's TARDIS, which she sets to collapse in on itself and send it into the heart of the void to destroy the Daleks on board. In the aftermath, Jack Robertson seemingly takes credit for defeating the Daleks, a la Hercule from DBZ, and Ryan decides to stop traveling in the TARDIS, prompting Graham to leave as well, as he doesn't want to travel without Ryan. The four have an emotional farewell, with the Doctor giving Graham and Ryan some psychic paper as a parting gift, And finally, we end on Graham and Ryan back where they started on a hill somewhere outside of Sheffield, with Graham helping Ryan try to ride a bike on his own. And that's it.
All right. So
4
what did we
minutes, 7 seconds.
What did we like about this episode? And Thomas, you're first.
Wah, wah.
There's
By the way,
another.
we're not being
There's another trend.
we're not being censored here. We can call him Satan instead of Hercule.
Satan. Okay, yeah, the writers know exactly what they're doing.
You know, I'm. It's a very obvious thing, especially because I'm pretty sure I bitched about it on the last podcast or something. But companions get to leave. Like, my God, thank you. Fuck's sake! Like, Martha is the only time that's happened in New Who. So it was so gratifying to have that happen
It's actually funny
again.
because earlier in the episode, Jack is like, nobody gets to choose when to leave the TARDIS. And Ryan is like, yeah, you know what?
You know what? I'm
Yeah.
out. Peace. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it was just so fucking gratifying to be like, oh my God, thank you. We actually have people choose to leave. Oh, and I saw someone point out that like the difference between this and the fact that Moffat and RTD were mostly obsessed with people being forced off is that the previous two were a hell of a lot more fanboyish about Doctor Who than Chibnall is. So they probably had the mindset of, oh, why would you ever want to leave the TARDIS?
Yeah, exactly.
No one would ever want to leave.
That being said, Martha
Even
did
though
leave.
Old Who had- it's
Yeah.
like, except that like Old Who had plenty of companions.
Mhm.
Yeah. Martha was the only one that left,
Mm.
and Russell T Davies was able to use that to his advantage because was able to bring her back for an episode or two
Now and again, yeah.
now and again. Yeah.
Yeah, and have her show up in Torchwood as well.
Yeah. So it was really kind of more useful to have a companion lead.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a story that can continue there.
And yet,
Mm.
Russell T was constantly, trapped or memory erased or whatever.
Yeah.
And Moffat's were dead or not really dead.
Mm.
Dead or might as well be trapped, or they're just running around somewhere where you can't
Yeah.
find them anymore.
Or trapped by the plot
Yeah.
of bullshit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, they're New York. We can't get to New York. Send them a letter saying to go to LA.
Save me. Thank you. How it should have ended, Batman. Save me.
Yeah, it's they had to keep contriving ways to kill or trap the companions. It's just nice to see one that goes, yeah, I'm done.
Let them go.
And not for a bad reason either, but because of he's like, I had some character development.
I've had some character development off screen. I feel like I've been growing into a better person. I think I need to stay home.
Yeah.
All right, Bill, how about you? What did you like about the episode?
So I seem to be in the minority opinion of this, but I actually liked the Sentry Daleks. For one, the fact they were developed by humans, so it makes sense that they look a little different to normal Daleks. Two, the fact that they were developed from a blown up Dalek casing, so they didn't actually know what a Dalek was supposed to look like when they designed it.
A blown up Dalek casing that was ad hoc put together when it was there.
Yeah,
Right.
it was actually a ad hoc put together Dalek, put together by a Dalek, using only Earth parts.
Right. So given that, plus I'm a fan of the color scheme. Anyone who knows anything that I've put together knows, I definitely work with the blacks and grays a lot.
I would have liked it to be blue on the inside personally, and then red when they took it over.
Gotcha.
Because I thought blue was more of a security look than the red.
Well, that's what they did.
That's what they did. They were blue until the Daleks took over, and then they turned red.
And then red when the Dalek was in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they did it right then. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, given like I can see how people might say that Daleks would not design a Dalek to look like these, but Daleks did not design them, and therefore
Yeah.
there's
Technically
kind of
didn't
free
design them,
reign.
yes.
And I mean, I just like these designs in general, but the fact that there's
Yeah.
justification for it that they didn't need to spell out makes it even better.
Okay,
Yeah.
Matt, how about you?
General thing I liked? I actually liked our asshole Trumpian guy. He's actually becoming a good foil for a villain, I feel.
I
And he's
Yeah.
I still think he's a little one-dimensional.
he has a little
And,
bit, but he's expanding slowly. He's
Mhm.
less of a Trumpian guy now and more of a bad big company CEO.
to be honest, going back to Geek Talk for a moment,
Mm.
he's a better Maxwell Lord than the one in Wonder Woman 1984.
Yes,
Can I add to what you said, Matt,
sure.
or do you have more to say?
That's
So
basically my gist of my thought.
my backup choice was going to be that I like the fact that for the first act, he's not a villain, just an asshole. And it's not until probably the final act or halfway through, whenever the RT Daleks show up, that he actually becomes a villain.
He becomes a villain, and it's only for a short while. As soon as he gets involved, he suddenly seems to be waking up to the fact, oh, wait, I'm in over my head.
Yeah.
Duh.
Before that, he contributes to the escalation of the plot, but he's just an asshole. He's not actually a villain.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
not purposely
like-
trying to make something bad.
And you know, the thing
Yeah.
is, when he sees the alien thing, he's pretty much shocked and appalled too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And says to go
and, like-
incinerate, and then it's the guy who pulls it out of the box and gets himself caught. That
Yeah.
just amplifies everything.
Yeah. Well, I know one thing I've seen is that people who didn't like him in Arachnids in the UK preferred him here because he fit this story more.
Yeah,
He does
He
fit
was
the
a lot-
story a
he
little
was a lot more
better.
fleshed out
There's a
in this
lot
one.
more for his character to be
Well,
doing
he's
here.
he's a lot less of a Trump XP in this one.
Yeah, like I
and
said,
more
he's
of
growing
his own
into a bigger character.
I feel like they thought about adding more Trumpisms to him, because there's moments where they're like, in another draft, this might have been more Trumpish. But I think they were like, we don't want him to look like a cartoon character, which is what Trump is in essence.
We don't
so
want
they
to
made
make
him
a
more
complete and total
believable.
straw man. We want to actually make a character here. And if they play their cards right, it's a returnable semi-villain, semi-middle ground character.
Which might also be why Boris Johnson does not appear in this episode.
Well, they never really ever throw their prime ministers out there either.
We're saying on that no cartoon character because
Mhm.
Boris Johnson's a bit of a cartoon
Yeah.
too.
Because I mean, they have had Trump in previous episodes. They have had Obama in previous episodes, but no Boris Johnson.
Yeah, if you put Trump and Boris Johnson in the same show, it'd have to be animated by Warner Brothers.
Do they all get smacked with mallets?
Probably because Bugs Bunny would probably get involved.
If not the Warners.
They get blown.
I wouldn't say mallets, probably anvils.
They get blown
An
up.
anvil
trying
at some
to
point,
use-
and obviously some dynamite.
They get blown up trying to use Elmer Fudd's shotgun.
It suddenly
Okay.
turns into
Right.
government. It suddenly turns into CEO season. Uh-oh.
Okay, so I have to say I liked the Doctor and Jack moments. Just watching the interplay was fun. And actually, I think I just like Jack overall because the Jack and Yaz moments were great
Yeah.
too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when Yaz, manages to get under Jack's skin.
Yeah.
Are you saying the are you feeling insecure?
Yes.
That moment.
Yeah.
Am I? Yeah.
Yeah, like
Jack need to be praised? No.
yeah.
I kind of wish Gwen was there for that moment.
Yeah, I really wish so too, because she would have just been smirking or laughing her ass off. But
yeah.
it just those hit me as some moments that Jack Harkness needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, every
And
once in
it's-
a while, his ego does need a little bit of a check.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I've seen like some people say that Jack, they were kind of iffy on Jack by virtue of him not really adding a lot to the story. And while I can get that perspective, I was like, I just liked having Jack back.
Yeah, I just like
He's
having
actually
it there.
he's actually a companion, whereas these people are kind of bland.
Well, he's a character, which is great.
Hmm.
He's also able to do the sage advice.
Yeah, he's
To
like a middle
Yaz.
ground.
Mm-hmm.
Although the advice, so that's something, and I'm thinking probably no one's going to say it's their least favorite part of the episode, so it's probably safe to comment here. Um, I do think it was weird that he was put in that he gave the school reunion speech, considering that he talks about all the time he spent in the TARDIS, which was 3 episodes, and then even the second time he left the TARDIS, it was of his own free will.
Well,
So
mind you, they mention a few other adventures they had in the TARDIS
right.
together that were
But
never
I mean,
shown.
it feel like it doesn't feel strictly technically speaking compared to other companions that he would be the best one to give that speech. But I think that's more than covered for by the fact that he's such a good fit for the rest of the episode.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And it could have been that one of these things that they were thinking of bringing back, or, that if it had been a possibility, they would have thought of bringing back Elizabeth Sladen for this if she hadn't been dead.
Yeah, she might have been a
That's what
better
he
pick.
gave Elizabeth Sladen's speech. Yeah.
Yes, it would have been a perfect Sarah Jane speech. The problem is, of course, that Sladen's dead and can't make such a speech.
I kind of wonder if they called Billy Piper and she's like, "No, I'm busy with the kids" or something like that.
Well, and it's even harder to get Rose back, with her being, parallel universe.
And that wall should be sealed now.
I mean, and they can't bring back Donna because
Although they even mentioned the void, so that could have been worked into a script.
they can't bring back Donna because her memory's wiped. They can't bring back Amy and Rory because they've died of old age by now.
I mean, you could bring Alex Kingston pretty much anytime, unless the actress was busy.
Yeah, but that's the same problem that Jack has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She can't give the Elizabeth Sladen speech either because she's only ever there for an adventure or two, and then off she fucking goes.
Yeah, and
it's
Martha
like-
wouldn't make any sense either because she'd be the opposite of that, where she'd be talking to Ryan saying like, "If you feel like you need to get out, get out."
If Martha gave a speech to Yaz, that would add even more fuel to the fire for the 13X Yaz shippers than this episode already did, and this episode added a lot of fuel to that fire. The ship has oars now. So,
Yeah, I had that feeling after seeing some bits too.
the ship has rowers.
Okay, so let's move on to what we didn't like. Thomas.
I guess just for something to say, because honestly, a lot of what I have is really just nitpicky. I can see where people are coming from, and that I can agree with that. It's interesting that they kind of set up Daleks as fascist police or something, and then that element kind of really doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah,
I mean,
fascists versus racists. That has no relevance today specifically.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they don't like it. It ultimately feels like that's a theme set up, but then it doesn't really go.
Like the whole
Potentially.
security
Yeah,
theater
yeah.
thing didn't
Yeah,
get
like
played out
it's
as much as it could have been.
Yeah, like it's like, well, shit, we need to get the plot to move along, and this is only like 70 something minutes. So
Now, how much does the year since they started filming color your perception of that? I wonder.
I don't know. Like, I will say it's something that I didn't really think about much until I saw other people bring it up, and then was like, oh yeah, there's something they probably could have gone with, but I guess it's almost like, yeah, it is probably a thing of like, given the last year, it seems odd that they didn't go anywhere with it, but had it been like written and filmed last year instead of probably like very late 2019 or early 2020, they like
This was
probably
this was filmed immediately following season 12.
So yeah, shit wouldn't have really ramped up yet. So my guess is they were like they wanted to maybe, again, it's like as I said at the start, like Chibnall kind of stumbling into, oh shit, this is actually relevant. Uh, so maybe that's why they don't go into it as
And
much.
he may have been
Yeah,
intentionally sidestepping Brexit too, because
probably, yeah.
that's that's
Yeah,
a
that
very close to home pile of Kindle
Yeah, that's a very big
Mm.
landmine in England.
yeah,
when
like
you
they
work
seem
for
to
the
have only
BBC.
really passingly mentioned it in Spyfall, and that's about it, I think. Um, yeah, that's all I've got really. It's just like there's certain like theming that it seems like they could have gone with, but due to how the story goes, they didn't really go as far as they could have.
All right, Bill.
So we've been asking for 2 years to see more of Yaz's character development, and this episode, Yaz spent 10 months in her hometown, during which Ryan made all sorts of decisions about his life. Um, and what frustrates me there is we see none of the, and this is mostly about to do with Yaz, but it also applicable to the other characters a little bit. We see none of the supporting Sheffield cast. We don't see Yaz's boss, who might be wondering,
Where
to
the
know
fuck
what
she is?
has she been going to work for the past 10 months, or has
I
she
doubt it if she's been sleeping in the
right?
goddamn
That,
TARDIS.
that's what I'm thinking. It would have been nice to see some of those characters to kind of react to that. Maybe
Mm,
Yaz's mother and sister, who might have had, some sort of reaction to the emotional state that their family member is in.
yeah.
Somebody for Yaz to work with, because Ryan has Graham for his big decisions. Uh, Yaz and Ryan reacts to Yaz and is like, you need to move on, but Yaz isn't bouncing off of Ryan. It would
Mm,
be nice for Yaz to have somebody to bounce things off of, so that she can come to those same moments.
yeah. I guess if nothing else, it would have been interesting for them to like even at least say like, hey, we like maybe are, it turns out part of the reason they're coming to check on her because like her family has gotten in contact with them, being like, we haven't seen her in
Right.
X amount of
So
time.
I
Do you know
guess
where she is?
I was trying to focus on one, but it kind of split into two. My main point was none of the Sheffield cast is in this episode other than the TARDIS crew, and that
Mm,
as a result, as kind of like they come together, is the fact that the result that has for Yaz's plotline. But it affects
mm.
Ryan's too, because he even talks about, he's like, my mates need me, really, because they're nowhere to be seen.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that
They were there in that episode.
that's bad in and of itself.
Mhm.
Yaz has got only two major developments. She has a family and a job. Apparently, she doesn't care about any of them
She
anymore.
doesn't have either one now. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
If she spent 10
mhm,
months hanging out, she'd be fired. And
mhm.
yeah, I'm not sure what her family would
Or
think.
was she going to work and moping around, and the boss is like, I was gonna promote you, but instead, I guess you're just gonna be writing traffic tickets forever because you've been doing a shitty job.
Yeah.
I have no clue.
No clue,
Yeah,
because they really
they do
just didn't
seem to
do
like
anything.
they do seem to not bring up that she's a cop at all in this, which was kind of funny. But I
Mhm.
basically take it under the impression that okay, she's essentially abandoned her life
Actually,
because
yeah,
she's become obsessed with the doctor.
The whole thing with the Daleks would have played into her copness.
Yeah. And
Mm.
instead, she's completely ignored it. So everything that we've had developed about her character has basically been thrown in the shitter.
Which makes her character
uh,
even more really awkward right
yeah.
now.
Now, the thing I want to see is I'm not bitching about this yet, but if they go into the next season of Doctor Who or the next series and we get an episode where everything's back to normal with Yaz, I am calling bullshit.
I would be
Yeah.
pissed. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it really seems like this episode is setting Yaz up to either die or be trapped in a parallel universe.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, how about you? What did you dislike about this episode?
What I disliked about this episode. I have to say, I think the overall thing, the whole thing about the there's something being weird about the whole Dalek things, and apparently its UV rays are helping them clone faster. Made zero sense. It just came out of nowhere.
I
That
think it
was
was part of the
something from-
teleportation.
Yeah, that was something from
Possibly,
the
yeah.
previous special, the one that they keep bringing up.
Hmm.
What was that one?
Resolution.
Resolution.
Which-
Thank you.
Which, by the way, I'm calling it now. Next year's New Year's special, Resolution with a Z. We had Resolution with an S, Revolution. It's going to be Resolution with a Z.
Or some other R word, because apparently Chibnall just likes R names.
Well, no, that's been a Dalek thing forever. It's been that
Yeah.
way since
Well, the
Revelation?
TARDIS wiki page for this has a note. You may be looking for Revelation of the Daleks.
yes, not to be confused with Revelation of the Daleks, which was
Well, Resolution, the previous special was just Resolution. It wasn't Resolution of
Although
the
it was
Daleks.
also, although
Yeah.
although that's because the Dalek was a secret.
yeah. They've
Yeah.
said
Air
they've
quotes.
since many places have now put Resolution and then in parentheses of the Daleks. But no, I mean, you go back to the Fifth Doctor, you've got Resurrection of the Daleks,
Mhm.
Revelation of the Daleks for the Sixth Doctor, Remembrance of the Daleks, and then you have these. So yeah, there's a whole thing that went on for a while with R of the Daleks. But you know, they're gonna run out of descriptors pretty damn soon.
Yeah. Like what's left? Like reincarnation of the Daleks.
That's a good one.
That is actually
Reggae of the Daleks. That's going to be a weird episode.
Yeah, if that comes out next year, I'm blaming
That
you.
sounds like that sounds like something Big Finish would make. Reggae of the Daleks.
Restoration of the Daleks. That would be one they could do.
Yeah.
I feel like Big Finish may have done that one.
Because it's an R sound, but it starts with W. They haven't done Wrath of the Daleks yet.
Rumination of the Daleks. Ruination of the Daleks. Let's just put that one out there too. There's still a few
Where were we?
cards.
Because this we I don't remember where this tangent started.
I don't know, but now I'm just imagining that the Doctor Who production team with a dictionary opened up to R.
Yeah.
Because did Matt say what he didn't like yet?
I think I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty sure I
So,
did.
Randy?
Yes.
Yeah, it was just
So
the weird
my
lighting
major
thing.
issue
Made no sense.
is Leo. Okay, so
Okay.
hired by he's hired by Robertson to be a tech expert.
He was the CEO of a tech startup, I think, that
Yes.
Robertson
Yeah,
bought
yeah.
out.
So while doing this, he also manages to clone a Dalek, which means he's also a genetics expert,
Mm.
while simultaneously being dumb enough to hook it up to the network.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. It kind of says something when even Robertson is like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah,
When he said I hooked it up to the network, my first thought was, oh shit. My second thought was, why would you even consider doing that?
yes.
Yeah.
Let's just take first of all, I've managed to clone a unidentified hostile alien being. Now I'm going to hook it up to our security network.
Was the Dalek in Resolution? Did it have any sort of mind control when it wasn't on somebody's back? Did it have any sort of telepathy that I'm
Not that I-
forgetting?
No.
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 So okay, so that would have been the only.
That was just him being really
explanation.
dumb.
if he had some sort of telepathy to like or hypnosis, but that's more of a master thing.
Yeah, but even so, you normally don't see tech experts that can basically pull a Jurassic Park
I mean,
yeah.
with Dalek remains. It's not usually where you go with.
not in the real world, but in movies all the fucking time, and that's
Yeah.
But yeah, and then dumb enough, like I said, to hook it up to the network. That's just like, and all doing this behind your boss's back. You know, it's
It's one of those things where it almost would have made more sense to just say Jack was in league with the Daleks the whole time. Like Jack Robertson, I should say. That's why I just kept referring to him as
Just
Robertson.
about to say.
if I couldn't see this guy going and revealing this to Robertson in the first place. If he was doing this shit behind Robertson's back and continuing to do it until it bit him in the ass, I could have believed it more. But the fact is,
I could kind of see, and this is kind of fanficky because the episode really definitely does not say it. If like the whole like cloning farm was set up by when he was being a puppet, and then if the Dalek was like, okay, I don't need to be your puppet, I'm gonna go back into tank, and then he had like partial memory of what happened, and he was like, oh yeah, for some reason I set it up to the neural network. I don't remember why I did that, but I better tell the boss.
That's also pretty
But
hand
that's
wavy.
reading a lot into it that they don't say.
Yeah, there's it just with what we're given, it's not really great characterization there. And it just hits me as being too stupid for somebody that smart. Okay, so favorite scene, Thomas.
Let's see. Oh, there's actually a few choices. God. Do I really want to go with the most obvious? Fuck it. Yeah. Even though it was my like best aspect overall, I am just gonna go with like the companion farewell. Because it's just like, yeah, it is just like, oh, thank God.
the
Like-
the real one, or the scene where they say that it's obviously going to happen? You're saying the real farewell.
Yeah.
Okay.
The actual farewell at the
flat
end, near the end of the episode. Yes.
Yeah. Where it's just like, no, I'm not. And like, I saw one review where the person said they basically wouldn't have been as sold on Graham deciding to leave based on the dialogue, and it was more so Bradley Walsh's performance that sold it. For me, it's like, no, it would have made like, I would hope the performance would sell it anyway, but the reasoning of like Graham wanting to leave, because as gung-ho as he is to keep going, you can basically read into it that like, yeah, this whole time he's mainly enjoyed having more time with Ryan as well.
Right.
So now that Ryan's opting out, he's like, as fun as it will be, I'm doing this because I get to spend more time with you. So you piecing out. And generally, it's just nice that like Graham gets to leave willingly. When he was like, if we were going to kill a companion, he was the option. And you missed that opportunity with Resolution. So him just being able to walk away is like, okay, thank you.
Right.
Although I do like that he wibbles for a moment or two.
Yeah.
He was like, should I do the retiree traveling in my old age? And then he's like, nah, I want to hang out with this guy.
All right, Bill, how about your favorite scene?
So my favorite scene is, what the fuck is that? Burn it now.
Oh,
And
the scene I was just bitching about.
yes, but specifically Robertson's reaction.
What is that? Kill it with fire.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I like to think that he partially made that decision because these weird people are asking him about aliens and he doesn't know what's going on and he just wants it far away. Um, but even without that, that was the smartest decision we've ever seen someone make in a Dalek episode.
Yep.
Unfortunately, it was way too late for it to matter.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, that was the smart move.
And it makes sense. Like, it's both cowardly and smart.
Mind
So
you,
it makes sense that he would do it.
legally farming the Dalek tech to make something of it, I could see doing it. Doing it the, of course, illegal way that he did it is, of course, wrong.
Right.
If you had gone through, like, say that you had to go through Unit, if Unit was still around, and say, yeah, we could do something with this. Can we take a look at the technology and do it? And mind you, they do miss a great opportunity to bring up the horrors of AI. Because could you imagine this hooked up to something like Wotan or the Boss?
Mm-hmm.
But
That would probably, especially Daleks plus evil AI, would need more than one episode.
I don't know. I mean, I would be thrilled, but even so, could you just see Daleks versus AI Daleks? Yeah, it'd be it'd be an interesting thing. But I would geek out on that.
Daleks versus V'ger.
Kind of.
But so I didn't. So I thought that that part, while what he was doing was morally gray, was actually pretty inspired. When they brought back the alien and his thought was immediately kill it with fire, I'm like, yes. But yeah, too late. Matt, your favorite scene?
Favorite scene. I thought we were on least favorite for some reason.
No, not yet.
No, favorite scene.
Yeah, we're already over the 2-hour mark, so let's keep going.
I guess I'll go with the escape scene.
Okay, that was one of mine too.
Yeah. Just, hey, there you are. I got to see you. Hi. It's taken me years to get here. How are you doing?
Oh, the breakout. Okay.
The hyper enthusiastic of Jack for
Yes.
that.
I like how and it fits his character knowledge that he immediately sees her and does not even need explanation. Oh yeah, this is the doctor now. He just immediately knows this is her.
Mm-hmm. How about this face? Yeah.
Although imagine if he fucked up and it was Irani's cell and he thought it was going to be the doctor.
Whoops.
That would be interesting. Although I can tell you one thing about the earlier scene there where he's tapping into the doctor's cell with, tapping. My brain immediately went to Star Trek V. What is that saying? S-T-A-N-D. Stand. Wait, there's more. B-A-C-K. Stand back. Stand back. So I was kind of almost expecting that when that happened, but I thought the way they did it was actually cooler. So my favorite scene, I brought it up before, I will reiterate it, was the Yaz and Jack bit as they're going into Osaka. From the Jack giving the Elizabeth Sladen speech, because somebody had to, to her just taking Jack down a peg. And then the whole thing, it's like, well, they bring back out the squareness gun. I'm just like, yes! Haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah, that has been a while.
I think it hasn't been since the first series. Because I don't think we saw him with it when he came back in the third.
Don't think so, no.
Yeah, not that I recall.
And
I don't know if he got back during Torchwood.
No, he always used a revolver in Torchwood.
So he stuck to normal guns.
Yep, and so now the squareness gun was back, and I'm just like, awesome. And that was another great shout-out in a show that had a buttload of shout-outs to previous episodes.
Although
It's
funny enough,
almost as if
talking about things being brought back and not being brought back makes me realize he didn't die once in the entire episode.
Yeah,
Got a
he
few
did.
close calls, but yeah, never died once.
Because I was thinking, I was
Yeah.
like, well, in series 3, his main purpose was to be funny, die, and come back. And he's funny in this episode, but he doesn't die and come back.
My runner-up line, by the way, my runner-up for this was so Jack, how do you feel about teleporting onto a Dalek SAS ship? Do I get to blow it up? Yes. Right on. I have issues with Daleks. Yeah. I was like, yes, I love that. That was wonderful. All right,
Yeah.
least
Jack
favorite
wants some
scenes.
revenge.
One is just like a line that I'm just like, oh, did this really have to be given certain things that became more publicly aware in 2020? Instead, I'm going to go for Robertson decides, no, I'm going to side with the Daleks, and the Doctor's just like, God damn it, and goes back into TARDIS instead of dragging him by the ear back into the TARDIS.
I mean, that would have been time for a little Venusian Akito right there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that would, because I was like, as a female doctor, they're probably going to assume that she's not as physically powerful as Robertson. But yeah, she could definitely Vulcan neck pinch him. Like
Yeah, I was
quickly
gonna
as
say
a-
she should be
she
able to
did that in the
vision
Ghost
Yukito
Monument
him and at
or
least give some sort of pinch where he's forced to follow her orders to get back into
Mhm.
TARDIS.
Yeah, like she uses Venetian Akito on like that one guy in the Ghost Monument. So
Yeah,
Right.
that would have been a moment to break it back out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Bill.
So mine, it really had the potential of being my favorite scene, but they fucked it up, and I think that's a definitely a scripting issue. And that is when Yaz takes the sample of the nutrient liquid, because it had the potential of really having them figure out the whole thing about the distorted DNA and all of that shit. That could have all stemmed from Yaz, and then first it's irrelevant, and then the Dalek goes ahead and just tells them everything, and it makes Yaz seem incompetent when it could have been a moment to really show how competent she really was.
Not so much incompetent, made her completely useless, even though she was about to try and figure out
Right.
something.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was her moment to really do something that contributed to solving the plot, and they took it away from her.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just contributes to the overall thing that's like a running track through the special of her trying to be more like the Doctor, and it not necessarily working out. But
Right.
just generally her trying to be a lot more like the Doctor anyway, like trying to tell off Robertson and it not working.
All right, Matt, your least favorite scene?
Least favorite scene. Trying to think of one really quickly. I don't have anything in particular overly bad that I can think of right now off the top of my head. The only thing I can really call out is why I keep forgetting the scientist's name. The guy that helped make the robotic Daleks.
Leo.
I can't remember. Yeah, Leo. I don't understand why Leo felt the need to pull the Dalek out of the case before tossing it in the fire.
Yeah.
If it's an incinerator, you should be able to just toss that entire thing in. I don't know why you would risk pulling that thing out into the open.
Yeah, especially because there were air holes, so the fire would have been able to get in to it. It's not like, oh well, it's completely sealed up. It's not. He'd have to open it to let the fire get it. It's like there are holes in it that are fairly sizable. The fire could have got in it and just boiled it.
I see. I wasn't even sure there was holes in there, but either way, it still is like half of this plot could have been avoided and would need rewriting if he would have just been not dumb in that one moment.
All right. So I don't really have a least favorite scene. I do have one other bitch. I really wish the mutated Daleks would have been voiced by somebody other than Nick Briggs.
That would have been nice for a
Yeah.
difference in voice, yeah.
I did see the story notes mention that they were the voice from that they used the modulation from the Renegade Daleks from Remembrance. That's
Yeah.
not something that I would have recognized enough to be able to tell on my own.
Yes, they changed the modulation, but I wish they could have used a different voice actor just to make them
Just-
even more different.
Yeah, just to drive home someone who would have actually been closer to those voices too.
Mm.
Because the
Terry
modulation helps, but it's not everything. It's also the voice actors behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Actually,
we
not Terry, because if they brought back Terry Malloy and there was no Davros, probably there would have been riots. So
I was almost expecting it with the "Take Me to Your Leader" bit.
apparently that was a rumor that had to be debunked.
I was expecting to see Julian Bleach as Davros as the leader, but nope.
Mm.
But
The leader had the Emperor voice, right?
yeah, they did, but it was a standard Dalek casing.
Right. Which would have been nice if it was at least like a red Dalek or something.
A red Dalek, or they put a big head casing on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Which
some
we've
sort of
never
special
seen,
casing
but
should have been run proper.
that shouldn't have taken that much for the prop department to slam
Mm.
together a large head Dalek to be as the Dalek leader.
Speaking of the props, this was something I was trying to remember because we covered when they filmed the bridge scene a while ago, and that's how we knew that they were filming the special. I don't, we never knew at that time that there were two factions of Daleks, right? So one of those
Not
factions.
that I saw. All the pictures we saw were of the black casing
So
Daleks.
one of so the RTD Daleks might have all been CGI for most of their scenes.
No, there's
Although-
definitely ones wheeling around on set.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I know they are CGI when they're flying. I'm wondering if I'm thinking on the bridge they might have all been CGI as a way to keep people
No,
from
we see
guessing
them
that.
completely reflected on the floor and everything. They are actually there, Bill.
Well, wait, you're saying when they're flying?
No, when they're in their bridge, when they're on their ship.
Because on the bridge they're flying. No, that's the
No,
No!
not on their bridge, on the bridge. One on the cross bridge where we first see the Daleks meet the mutated Daleks.
Yeah, the scene where there's the two factions.
Oh, that I don't know for sure on that bridge.
Yeah, because when we saw pictures of them filming this episode, all we saw were the mutated Dalek casings.
Right.
Yeah.
So Bill was wondering if all the regular Daleks in that were CGI'd.
In that particular scene, maybe?
Yeah, for that on location shooting. To hide
for anything that wasn't on set, I think.
Yeah.
That, or it was just that they happened to be behind something that blocked people from taking photos of them. I don't know.
In which case, they got lucky.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But either that or the regular Daleks were far enough down the bridge that they couldn't be pictured. Yeah. Either way, regardless, they did manage to keep that a secret. But yeah, the head of the Death's Head Dalek should have been a black Dalek. But with the classic Dalek design. With the just black, because I know there's at least one, probably from the old Cult of Skaro Daleks, that had a black with that with the gold Dalek design.
Right.
Yeah,
And
there's
that
at least a
should
couple
be
of those.
Yeah, there should be one of those ahead of the Death.
Or I was thinking a red, because we rarely see those, but it would distinguish it more from the patrol ones.
Yeah, I know, but generally the Dalek Supreme, which is the field leader Daleks, tend to be red, or tend to be black.
Right.
Daleks.
True.
Red tend to be base command.
Yeah, the redheads tend to be the reds caps tend to be base commanders, and then the emperors have the big domes and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yep, and the black ones tend to be the field leaders.
Mm-hmm. It would make sense for a single ship to have a field leader.
Yeah. Yeah, the red ones are like Dalek governors. Think about that. Anyway, we're getting way off course.
Anyway, yeah, we are rambling again.
Yeah.
So I think
Right,
now
so
it's time for
final thoughts.
Thomas's final thoughts.
Yep. I'll have to give my rating at the same time as well because
You gotta go.
yeah. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed this despite the flaws. Like as much as it's like, yeah, there are, but like as I saw someone on YouTube say, and I agree with it, it was just I was smiling pretty much the whole time I was watching this. So like I will forgive it a lot of the flaws, even though like the whole Leo thing is like this character had to be dumb so the plot could happen was kind of annoying. Like otherwise, and like the companions being allowed to leave at the end was just such a thank fucking god I could kiss you, Chibnall, that I was just like I'm willing to forgive a lot of the negatives because the positives are so strong for me. Um, and while it's not good enough that I could give it a 5, I am going to be generous and give it a 4.5.
Okay, 4.5 from Thomas.
So
All
I'll see
right,
you next week.
See you
Yeah,
next
see you
week.
later.
Bill.
All
Final
right. So I had trouble narrowing down the things I liked and disliked about this episode because there was a lot to comment on. But definitely the things that I liked, I felt more strongly about than the things I didn't like. Most of the things I didn't like were along the nitpicky side, with the glaring hole being what I ended up going with. But definitely, I think this was a fairly positive episode. And if they had just made done a little bit better with Yaz, it could have been, on the margin of error of that perfect score. I think
Okay,
I think all of my comments came out, so I think that's it for me.
go ahead and give it a rating since Thomas gave his.
Okay. 4.5.
0.5. Matt.
I feel like this episode still suffers all of the same glaring issues that the previous season has been suffering from. That being said, there's a lot of extra stuff in here that does come off as a lot nicer, and in particular some of the callbacks, but the rely on the callbacks to make the episode better is kind of. And I think this is also the most times the Doctor has shouted out the word fam, and every time she does it, I just feel like she doesn't quite own it. It's never just come off right to me. But
Fam is dead.
yeah, it's just I don't know. I don't know why they keep trying to push that as a thing for her. Anyway, that being said, a majority of the writing is perfectly good. Outside of a few major holes that need to happen in order to make the story happen the way it does. But other than that, I can't find in myself to hate it, and I think there's enough extra good stuff put in just enough to make it beyond mediocre. So I am giving this a 4.
Wow, Matt's our doubting Thomas. Wow. Okay, now to me. Well, I liked it. I did not like Leo, I will say that. But I really liked Jack, and I liked Jack's interaction. I did like the shout out, so Matt can go kiss my ass.
Relying on them is a problem. Having them is not bad.
No, they didn't rely on it. That was the thing. They were just there. Jack was a vehicle to because they don't really had anyone else that could have broke the Doctor out of space prison, except for River Song. And I'm glad they went with Jack Harkness instead of River Song.
Yeah. Oh, I remember a comment, but that I forgot to make. But I'll let you finish what you're saying first.
When the choice is between the two of them, I will choose Jack Harkness any fucking day.
Those two, yes.
So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed his interaction. Most of the characterization I thought was pretty good. The only things I didn't like was Leo, and I wish, and this is a nitpick wish, that they had used another voice for the other Daleks. Other than that, I have no problems with this episode at all. And it became particularly poignant with the events that happened today, which is just a lucky break on Chibnall's part. So I'm going to give this a 4.5 as well. So
So
three
I-
4.5s and a 4.0 averages us out to 4.0, which makes Thomas, Bill, and myself right and Matt wrong.
Wait, what?
4.5, a 4.5, a 4.5, and a 4.0 averages us out to 4.4.
Okay,
Which
I was gonna
makes
say
Thomas-
you said first time you said that you said 4.0 again.
I thought I heard that, but I thought I
Aha.
was just not paying attention.
No, it's a 4.4, which makes Thomas, Bill, and myself right and Matt wrong.
Yeah,
So
the first time you tried to say 4.4, you said 4.0 again, and I'm like, wait, that don't math.
I
We're already
remembered
over time, Matt. Stop extending us further.
I remembered what I had meant to say in my final thoughts, but I
Oh, right.
forgot. And that is that this is the first episode I've seen that is a happy medium between Torchwood Jack and Comic Relief Jack. And that makes perfect sense considering Chibnall is probably the person who's written the most Jack of anybody.
At least it's not Monster Jack. That's it. That's good.
Mm.
But yeah, he has his somber moments. He has his comic moments. Anyway, at 4.4, that puts us at number 86 out of 371 things reviewed. It is on par with Snake Dance, The Dominators, The War Games, Terror of the Zygons, The Husbands of River Song, Father's Day, Edge of Destruction, Face the Raven, The Hunting of the Villa Diodati, Time Warrior, Partners in Crime. Jesus, there's a lot here. Rise of the Cybermen, Age of Steel, The 11th Hour. This is, I think, our bulk. And The Green Death. It is better than The Three Doctors, Nightmare in Silver, The Ice Warriors, Dalek Invasion of Earth, The Battle of Ranskor Evkolos, etc. And not as good as Rosa, The Woman Who Fell to Earth, The War Machines, The Invasion, The Rebos Operation, Thin Ice, etc. Once again, 86 out of 371 things reviewed. That is all we have to say about Revolution of the Daleks.
All right, so please let us know in the comments what you think. How did you like the episode? What did you like? What did you dislike about it? Don't forget to like or dislike the video, depending on how you feel. And to keep getting our new exports on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe or follow us on Twitch to get our new streams, which will continue every Wednesday night.
All right, next time we return to our final unreviewed serials of the Fourth Doctor. Next week, it's Nightmare of Eden, excuse me. Ugh. Written by Bob Baker and starring Tom Baker as the Doctor, Lala Ward as Romana, and David Brearley as the voice of K9, Mark II.
See you all later.